You can't drive against the traffic. This is the ultimate no-no. If you drive against the traffic, either head-on or in reverse, you'll be disqualified from the race. There is a buffer built into this rule to account for those times when it may be necessary to briefly drive against traffic in order to get back onto the track after a nasty spin or similar off-road excursion. You can't pass under caution. After the yellow flag comes out and you have raced back to the start-finish line, you are considered to be under caution. Once you're under caution, you aren't allowed to pass, and that includes the pace car too. There are two exceptions to this rule. Cars that aren't on the racing surface may be passed, and cars that are on the racing surface but which are going too slowly also may be passed. If you're not sure whether or not you should pass someone, it's better to pass and be told to fall back, rather than not pass and potentially cause a mess for all the cars behind you. Your spotter will make your life a lot easier here. Listen to him, and you won't go wrong. If you do pass someone under yellow, you'll have until the green flag flies to get back into the correct place in line. If you don't, you'll be black flagged. The penalty time will be just long enough to offset any advantage you gained. You can't pass the leader before the start-finish line on a start or restart. If you are at the front of the pacing line, in the line opposite the leader, you aren't allowed to pass the leader until he crosses the start-finish line. This rule is designed to give the leader an advantage on starts and restarts. If the leader is going too slowly, or suddenly decides to brake before the start-finish line, this rule is ignored. This is done to prevent the leader from intentionally trying to get the car in the other row to beat him to the line by braking at the last moment. Breaking this rule triggers the black flag, and you'll have to come in and serve a stop-and-go penalty. You can't pass a car in the same pacing line on the inside before the start-finish line. Huh? Actually, this one is pretty simple. On a start or restart, if you want to pass a car that's in your pacing line, you can't do it on the inside until you get to the start-finish line. Passing on the outside is okay, but you'll find that experienced drivers will guard against this tactic. This rule is in place in order to prevent people from hanging back at the start and trying to time the green flag so that they can just zoom by everybody before they get to the first corner. Again, this rule is ignored if the car in front is going too slowly. Your spotter will let you know. Breaking this rule will result in a black flag stop-and-go penalty. You can't drive around with a heavily damaged car. NASCAR does not allow cars that are heavily damaged to continue driving around the track, so if you're damaged to the point that you're dropping debris or fluids on the racetrack, you can expect to see the black flag. In this case, your pit crew will have to repair your car to an acceptable state before you'll be allowed back onto the track. Sometimes you may be damaged to the point that it won't be possible for the crew to repair your car. In this case, you'll have no alternative but to retire from the race. This type of black flag penalty is the only one which may be cleared under yellow or green flag conditions. After all, NASCAR doesn't want cars dropping debris all over the racetrack for an entire caution period. When you race with yellow flags turned on, you'll need to decide whether or not you'd like to use single file or double file restart rules. In a double file restart, any cars that are one or more laps down are allowed to form a second pacing line on the inside of the lead lap cars. Not surprisingly, a single file restart keeps all the cars in a single pacing line. Whether it's due to an accident, a bad pit stop, or a poorly timed caution flag, it's easy to lose a lap during a NASCAR race. Getting back onto the lead lap is much easier if you can take the restart from near the front of the field, rather than from behind a long line of lead lap cars. That's precisely why NASCAR introduced double file restarts. It gives cars a better chance of getting back onto the lead lap. NASCAR uses double file restarts almost all of the time. There are only two exceptions. First, they aren't used if there are fewer than 10 laps remaining in the race, and second, they are never used at the road courses. So how does a double file restart work? Well, it works the same way a single file restart does, right up until the point when the 1 lap to green signal is given. That's when the lights on the pace car will go out and you'll hear your crew chief say, "We're going green next time by." At that point, you can pull to the inside and line up on the inside of the lead lap cars. If you're in the wrong place, your spotter will let you know. Be sure to use that F2 box to know which cars are close by, so that if your spotter tells you to pass or stay behind a particular car, you'll know where that car is. So those are the rules that you'll have to pay attention to when out on the track. As you can see, there's quite a bit to go over during the driver's meeting. But don't worry, if you can't remember all these rules, just listen to your spotter, and he'll keep you out of trouble.